Hi, it's Winton Churchill with the Barefoot Consultants, and I'd like to welcome you to our Facebook Friday. And today we're going to talk about three things I learned in Huatulco about freelancing, and have just gotten back from a trip to Panama to the International Living Conference. There was a lot of fun and met a lot of good new people, and sort of the first people out of the bunker after the pandemic. You know, these are the people that really have the get it done, go make it happen attitude, and it was interesting. It's, as we talked a little bit about last week, it's kind of reclaiming the path you were on when it was interrupted by the pandemic. And so very good, good time, interesting experience people had during the pandemic, that kind of thing. You know, how talked to a number of our members, how they were able to continue freelancing and that sort of thing, and others who wish they'd gotten started earlier and that kind of thing. Nobody saw that. None of us really saw that coming, but it renewed their sort of commitment to make that happen. And so I'd like to welcome everybody streaming into the room right now, and also welcome our live folks. And I can't see typically your name unless you make a comment. I just see which channel you're coming in on. And we're streaming this to our private Facebook group, and also to our public Facebook group, and also to our YouTube channel. So wherever you're watching this from, welcome. And if you're watching this other than live, welcome as well. Most of our viewers watch this not live, but on the playback, and we're glad you do. We call it time shifting in the freelance world, and that's one of the great things about having videos and being able to shift and all that kind of thing, is that you can arrange your schedule the way you want it to be arranged, rather than the way somebody else wants it to be arranged. And so that's a good thing, and we love when people do that. And so as I traveled to Huatulco is it's a resort area, but it's not very well known. I see Marianne there. Thanks for stopping by, Marianne, from the middle of two cactuses there. Very good. And Huatulco was a fishing village, and about 30 years ago now, the World Bank made a huge investment in it, and it was a master plan community by, at the time, one of the big 8 accounting firms that do architecture work and master planning and run big projects. And so I was there for the first time in quite a while, since the pandemic started, at my home there. And it was just, of course, wonderful to be back at home and that kind of thing. So it was great. And I've got a little bit more traveling to do, but then we'll be back there again. But I noticed some things, when you live someplace and you haven't been in there for a few years, and you go back and you see friends and talk to folks as well. It's just delightful. And it's a little bit of a dreamlike thing. We all were kind of clicking along with our lives, and then all of a sudden things were interrupted. And one of the most dramatic things that I realized back in Huatulco, as I began to talk to some of my friends and that kind of thing, is there's a technology revolution has occurred over the last 2 years. And because Huatulco is somewhat remote, I mean, it does have an international airport. It is on the beach in Oaxaca, so it's not like it's in the middle of the Amazon or something like that. I mean, there's half a dozen 737s that come in there every day, or some equivalent. But it is remote in terms of internet, and internet speed has been a problem since the day I moved there in 2007, and off and on ever since. And back in those days, if you clicked on YouTube, all you'd ever see is a spinning, arrow thing right in the middle of all that. And that was very frustrating. But now the Starlink satellite system is being deployed all along the Oaxacan coast. And my take on that is that real estate values just went up 10 or 20%, because one of the biggest hindrances to living there for many people is not having good access to the internet where they could do their work. The internet there is pretty good for watching things like Netflix and getting on and doing email and that sort of thing. And some days it's great for doing communications and live things like this, and some days it's not so great. So it's a very frustrating sort of work environment, because some days you get up to make a few phone calls that you've got scheduled and the internet may not be up to the task. And so this Starlink, and I'm going to share the screen here of Starlink, because this is so revolutionary. And of course, in the United States, I have a few friends that live in rural areas, and this is one of the big problems of getting internet to rural areas. It's just too expensive to run the fiber optic and that kind of thing. And there's been no good solution until this came along. And let me see, here we go, Starlink. And so here we go. It's you can get it for residential. You can get it anywhere around the world. There's just lots of good options. And the people that I know ordered this about 8 months ago, and it came about 2 months ago. So they've had it up and they're using it. And they say their overall impression is wow, because they get such good download speeds. I think they were saying it's 50 megabits, something like that, and such good upload speed. So it's really, there's a one-time cost to the hardware. You put this thing on your roof, it does some automatic pointing and make sure it points to the satellite. And now your internet speed is typically 5 to 10 times more than it was. And for any of you that have ever been in a place where you had to struggle with bad internet speed, this is a wonderful thing. So just really, will be a game changer. It's just rolling out now. I know 2 people in a town of 20,000 that have it. And I think there's a few more. I think somebody told me that about 30 people had actually ordered the Starlink system out of that 20,000. But boy, what a change it makes. And it's not that expensive. It says here it's $600 for the dish and another $110 a month. I believe it might be a little bit more expensive outside the United States, maybe 10 or 20%. But the point is, it's there and it's doing great. So kudos to those brave folks that bought it and put it up. Of course, they were buying it unseen. The interesting thing about this system is it's a satellite-based internet. And I was in El Segundo 20 years ago when Hughes was trying to figure out if their DirecTV stuff could be used for, internet type work. And one of the problems with the satellites at the time is there are satellites that are a few hundred miles above you, which is this particular system. And there are satellites that are 26,000 miles above you that are the big broadcast bands, high speed over a single location, that kind of thing. And what Starlink has done is they put a group of satellites, hundreds of satellites orbiting the Earth, and it's a different approach, but the speed of light actually comes into play when you use those geosynchronous orbits. It goes out 25,000 miles and basically comes back 25,000 miles. So it has to travel 50,000 miles. So that was not really fast enough for doing a lot of interactive things. It worked okay for things like streaming, where, say, Netflix, you start it and it might take a few minutes for the Netflix to start, but it's because it's downloading it, so it never runs out of data to present to you. And but when you're on a live Zoom call or something, that just doesn't work so well. So lots of good choices there, it looks like. And the constellation is being built out. It's not fully there. So it's expected to get quite a bit faster over time. I want to say about 3 weeks ago, they launched another 45 satellites. And what they do is they launch all these satellites, if I understand it correctly, on a single launch vehicle. And then they open it up, and it's just like a pod throwing out seeds, and all these satellites go out and align in certain orbits. And the hard part of all this is the satellite connecting, because the satellite's right overhead, but it's moving, and as soon as it starts going out of range, it connects you with the next satellite that's coming into range. And this was the key to making all this work, and it's working beautifully in most cases. Some people report a little bit of hesitation sometimes in Skype, but not a Skype or Zoom or something like that, but not a lot. So that's very, very interesting how all that pieces together, and will change the coast of Oaxaca forever, and it will change remote places around the world. As somebody who travels a lot around the world, you always, if you needed good internet, and I would plan this as a freelancer, if I had to upload a bunch of videos, I would make sure I was closer to the major metropolitan area. If I didn't, you could venture further out, but still there was a limit. You couldn't get a certain distance away, 50, 100 miles from the metropolitan area. Then you were off the internet. You couldn't access anything. And now you can access all of that, and at high speeds, without stringing wires and without anything particularly complicated. You don't have to rely on somebody out there to bring you, a service person to come up and install your internet. I've watched a few videos on YouTube of how all this pieces together, and it's quite amazing. I mean, you get a box, you open the box, you take out the pieces, you watch a video, you turn the thing on, you do what are called some calibration exercises, and it just takes off. It's running. It's so simple. And they have really engineered the setting up of this. Anybody that's ever had to set up a satellite or had satellite TV or anything satellite at their home, there's a lot of aiming that has to go on, and making sure you're pointing right at the right satellite, when all these satellites were geosynchronous. And of course, now all these are moving, so the position of your antenna can adjust slightly to that movement, and that kind of thing. So just gonna really make a big difference. Hola and adios, Christopher. Good to see you. Thanks for stopping by, and good luck with your Zoom call. Talk to you soon. And so that's the first thing. That's just looking out of in this whole community, realizing that everybody's life has just changed for the better, and better for families that live there, and kids that are getting parts of their education from satellite now. This just opens up whole new possibilities for that, and it was very very good to see, and in the short time that I was there. The other thing is just the sunshine. Huatulco is one of those places that's a little warm. It's on the west coast, 300 miles southeast of Acapulco. So if you were going from the United States and you went down the coast of Mexico, you'd go down Baja, and then you kind of skip over the Sea of Cortez and jump onto the mainland of um, Mexico and keep going down, and you get hit Huatulco, and then you Acapulco, and then go down another 300 miles, I think it is, and you hit Huatulco. So, further down, almost to Guatemala, not quite near the equator yet, but getting pretty far south and getting pretty warm. And so the sunshine is great there. And even though Mexico is kind of still in the mode of wearing masks, there doesn't seem to be much COVID around, and a lot of people are getting out into restaurants. And but just being out in the sunshine again was a huge break. From it used to be sunshine every day. Huatulco has about 310 days of sunshine every year, so they're one of the highest number of days of sunshine anywhere in the world. And it was just nice to be out in the outdoors and the sunshine and that kind of thing. And the other interesting thing is going out and meeting friends and talking to people in 3 dimensions again. When you're you can see the expressions in their face better, and you can have conversations. And it was just very enjoyable, and touching base with a number of people down there that work online and travel the world, or stay pretty much there and work online, or whatever it is. It was just a very enjoyable and inspirational experience, and just wonderful to see people out moving around. And of course, with the air reservations, I flew from the United States, and I flew down to Panama, and you can tell that the airlines are still getting their kind of mojo back. It's when a team works together for years and years, and they're doing similar things every day, they really have a shorthand they communicate in. And this is something that happens between freelancers and their freelance buyers. When you work with a client over and over again, you develop that shorthand, and that's a very important thing to develop. So, and good to see you there, Tom. How are you doing? Hope all is well with you. Thanks for stopping by. What I noticed the most, I guess, when I was there, is the fun of being out and having conversations with people. Where you weren't sitting in a chair and waiting for Zoom to time out or whatever it was. It was just very, very good. And Christopher said he did circle back just now. So good to see you, Christopher. And I'm sure in San Diego you have lots of sunny beach weather, and get to walk the beach out in front of the Hotel Del, and that's a beautiful thing, but not so much here in Dallas. And so very very good to see you, and hoping you get you got May Gray now. Okay, that makes sense. Yes, when I lived there, I remember May Gray, but it's being out, I guess. And I guess with the airlines and traveling, I was just stunned about how many people are out and moving around. The planes are, it's every seat was full on every single flight that I was on. So somewhere in the algorithm that the airlines use to keep their seats filled, they've done an amazing job of filling those seats, and so that's a very popular. Getting out and traveling is getting more and more popular. Not quite back to where it was, but I'm sure it's going to happen. And yes, there are few flights. Yes, there are less flights. There were less options when I traveled, and there is a shortage. And hopefully they can pull some of those folks out. I guess I saw some one of the aviation channels I follow. They're talking about relaxing some rules so that pilots that have retired some people took the pandemic to take an early retirement, can actually come back to work because it's financially very attractive right now. And yeah, they probably did let go of too much staff. And, unlike the world of freelancing, where if you could do a spreadsheet or a PowerPoint presentation before the pandemic hit, you can certainly do one now after the pandemic. So you just keep going. But pilots have to be recertified in the aircraft that they are flying, and medical tests and all kinds of things. So lots of work to get going. So yeah, and it's funny. I ran into somebody. Oh, I guess it's about a month ago that had, by reasons of marriage or family or something, had passes on an airline, and they were just moving into their retirement. They wanted to travel, and they could travel anywhere in the world they wanted to, anytime they wanted to, pretty much, just on those passes. So those passes are a big deal. But obviously, I guess when you retire, in their case, I don't know why it was the way it was, but somehow, even though they were, I think one of the wife had worked for the airline, and they were retiring, but she somehow keeps her passes, and they're able to fly all over the world. And they had half a dozen things going there. And yes, you can do a seatbelt demo on Zoom, but you got to be in the plane to be the safety person there and all that kind of stuff. It's one of those funny kind of things. And so yeah, that's it's remarkable, through if any of you have credit cards that accumulate points. I have quite a few points that have accumulated over the pandemic, and was able to do most all of my travel this time on points, which is really a nice thing as well. So that's very good. And I agree, Christopher. We'll connect. Interesting time to connect coming out of the pandemic. So and appreciate all your good comments. And so those were the three things that were really enlightening to me. There were probably half a dozen more that were amazing. Just the ability to jump in the pool and cool off, and the ability to take a siesta after 3 days of conference. I'm rather ready for a siesta, standing up and training and that kind of thing, and talking to people. I have never seen the enthusiasm. And one of our coaches, Patty, was talking about this. She said she has never seen people as eager to have conversations and figure out how this stuff works, and get to the world of freelancing, because portable income really is the thing that gives you that flexibility. And now that we all know that, just like growing up in Florida, you were always prepared and mindful of hurricanes because you had to be. That was, this is the new normal, and we got to pay attention to a lot of things. We could go into a situation any moment where having the ability to work from home or wherever you are would be a big plus. And Christopher says he teaches at live events, and I've been to a couple of events where I saw him speak, and he's very good, very interesting. So if you get a chance to have a conversation with him, take him up on that. So excellent. Yeah, our next pandemic. Well, we know there will be a next one. We're just hoping it's 100 years from now rather than too soon, and we have all the cures worked out. So very good. Enjoy. And happy to answer any questions about freelancing. The airlines are coming back. The hotels, same thing. Stayed in a major hotel chain. it wasn't quite the level of service it once was, because a lot of them are working with skeleton crews, in the sense that they don't have, they're staffing according to their occupancy rates, which are lower than they used to be. This hotel we went to was always full, with lots of meetings going on, and it seemed fairly full, but not as many meetings going on. And of course, for this particular hotel, that's what really seems to drive their business and activity level, and the hiring stuff, and all the things that go on there. So just had a great time. This is now my third time out. Was out in Las Vegas in February, and out in St. Louis for a conference there, and end of April, and now in Panama, and which was basically work, and now more play in Huatulco. So looking forward to getting back, having fun, doing lots of good training, helping a lot of new folks become freelancers, and head on down the road. So if you're on our in our programs for our Tuesday night call, we'll be talking about customer service jobs, and customer service jobs are not what they used to be. A lot of people think of customer service jobs as being, strapped to a desk and tied to a headset and answering questions all day. And the interesting thing about customer service now is it's almost no live conversation. It's all done via email and ticket systems and that kind of thing. And I guess customer service seems to be spreading in organizations, because many companies still do not have buildings that their clientele can walk into, and all that they're doing is being done over Zoom or Skype or something like that. And it's interesting. Christopher has a question. How do you differentiate between online digital business versus freelancing? I'm working on a digital business creation for the ARP crowd who doesn't have enough money to fund a full retirement. Well, and that's a good market, because as we know from our friend Grant, who studies this, he's about 75% of retiring Americans are worried about this. So the difference between an online digital business and this is the boundaries are getting fuzzier every day. So I do want to say that. But the online freelancing, the hardest part of building a business is creating a revenue stream. And to have a revenue stream, people coming in and giving you money, you have to have a way for them to get to where you are, whether it's a virtual place or whether it's a real place. And so online digital businesses, in my mind, tend to be those things where you create a website, you might create a membership program or that kind of thing. And then you go find traffic, and from that traffic, you get customers. The difference between online freelancing, which is what we teach really, is the jobs are already there. You go to an online marketplace like an eBay, except it's for freelance jobs, and the jobs are there. There's freelance buyers that say, this is what I need done today. The deadline for it is this. Tell me a little bit about how you would handle this and what you would charge. And the whole system is streamlined. All your information is in there. They can see your profile, which is kind of like a resume, but completely different. And they can see other work that you've done for other people and what they rate you and that kind of thing. And so it's very much the problem of finding work disappears. You don't have to go out and find people that want to work with you. They're all organized, and you just log in every morning and you you get to see the ones. And what we teach is you cultivate clients that you can do repeat work with. And that's what makes this so much more enjoyable when you're doing repeat work. So that's, yeah, it's all about delivering the goods. And that's what this does. So that would be, you know, we just see more and more of it. You know, there's going to be more freelancing as companies understand how they can take advantage of this stuff. And Marianne, yes, that's a good way to think about it. It is time for dollars, income stream, whereas digital courses create more of a residual income. And so you can kind of build it once and then it goes on for a while. But that being said, we've created, oh gosh, you know, a number of courses that have sold. We have, let's see, I'm trying to think of what the number is. Between our workshops and our courses, we've had about 45,000 people go through our various programs. And in the early days, it was more of a set up a training program and people would consume it and there was less work involved. But now the way things are changing, we find that there's less of that so-called residual income or passive income. I mean, yes, it is. There is a residual nature to it, but you do have to stay on top of things, which is fine. You know, we love that. So, Christopher's right, is that the leverage of a digital business is more, but they're also more complex. They're much more complex. A lot of people that do freelancing like the casual nature of it. They like the fact that they can work, you know, 5 hours a week and, you know, pick up a few $100s and pay for their, you know, their living expenses. I mean, their phone bill, their light bill, if they're making a 100 or $2 a month, depending upon what they're doing. A lot of people earn in the range of $15, $20, $25 an hour. And with that, they put a few points on the board. They pay their phone bill, their light bill, their bar tab, their whatever, you know, going out a couple nights a week, whatever it might be. And they're happy about it. And yes, Marianne, you make an excellent point, is that freelancing is a much faster way to make income now with little investment to set up. I do hear, you know, people talking about training programs on Bitcoin and that kind of thing. And, you know, Bitcoin's interesting, but you have to put your own money into that. You know, once you take the course and you know what to do, then you have to put your own money into it. And that's a difficult situation, where with freelancing, you're putting your own hours into it. You're learning how to do it. There's no real startup cost other than some training like ours, which in essence saves you time. You know, we help you with a lot of things, you know, sort of like this series I've seen online, eat this, don't eat that. You know, it's kind of like that, as we keep you out of a few potholes and tell you what branch to go down. And kind of as you progress through the process, it's very, you know, there's choices to be made depending on your background, your interest, how much money you want to make. Some people that come into our program are happy to work 50 hours a week from a beach in Ecuador or whatever. And other people are, you know, want to do it more on the down low. They want to work the 5 hours a week. And then other people want to work 20 hours a week. And so there's all kinds of different folks with different kinds of things. And yeah, thanks, Christopher. And yes, the coaching, that's where we've seen the biggest growth in what we're doing, is people are increasingly use a coach because they love, you know, just it's like going on a trip. I went to London a year before the pandemic and did one of these photography tours. You know, it's a walking photography tour, and I forget, it was something like $45, and you meet with a person in front of a church and you follow them around for a couple hours, and you meet the other people that are in the group and they're taking pictures. And this particular woman pointed out this picture and that picture, and it was very enjoyable. And that's a great way to see an area and kind of get that guidance. I mean, there were things on buildings that I wouldn't have recognized or known or what have you, that once she pointed them out, and she pointed out the angle to shoot from, and given where the sun was and given how the shadows were falling and all that kind of stuff, that coaching helped me get pictures that were much better than I otherwise would have had. So really appreciate that help, and that's where our coaches really help out, is that whole ability to guide you through this process, and say, well, yes, some people need to do that, but you don't really need to do that because you're going to be working in this area. So there's not that question mark of, what am I going to do? Should I put this in this field, that in that field? What kind of job should I take on? That kind of thing. And yeah, I like that slogan: freelance this, don't freelance that. How's that? Yes. And it's very true. One of the things we talk about to our members on our Tuesday night calls are, what are the best jobs to take? There's every day there's about 250,000 jobs on the one of the networks we teach on, and there's hundreds of thousands more on many of the other networks we teach people on. So there's a ready supply of jobs. I was just reading an article this morning that was talking about how hard it is, how tight the job market is still, and expected to get tighter, because we're down to unemployment levels. Well, I guess people have left the workforce. That's a big part of it. But we have this whole phenomenon of the Great Resignation, which most people are not aware that the Great Resignation is mostly baby boomers. 90% of it, according to a Forbes article I read, is people 50 plus. So, and Marianne, yes, thank you very much. And the coaching component just it expedites things. It's like getting the white glove service. There've been a couple times when I've been traveling where somebody meets you at the airport, and they whisk you through everything, and they make sure you touch all the bases and do all the things you have to do, and then you're off. And that's so much better than as I had to do this time traveling, which is, in my mind, part of the fun to traveling. But when you just figure it all out on your own, that's also a great thing to do. So very good. All righty. Well, with that, I'll bring this session to a close. Appreciate all the lively discussion and all the thumbs up, and really glad you're here. Good to see you, Bob. Bob's got some great underwater photography stuff going, and if you want to pop your website in the chat area, Bob, feel free to do that. Your pictures are amazing, and what a great example of a form of freelance living, and just amazing what you've done there. So warm water, clear skies, and see you Tuesday night or next Wednesday night for our Barefoot Brain, our coaches, and then next Friday back here. So have a great week freelancing. Take care. Adios. There's Bob's link. So just grab that from the chat. You'll see some great stuff there. Take care.